Hey, fellow G's, this is Edgar Zuniga from News Across the Galaxy. We have a new addition to the LA Galaxy family. This morning, the club announced the acquisition of forward Michael Barrios from the Colorado Rapids in exchange for a first round pick in the 2024 MLS Super Draft. In addition, Colorado could receive up to $50,000 in GAM. To give us his take about this transfer from the Rapids' point of view, we have good friend of the show, Matt Pollard of the Holding the Highline podcast. Good morning, Matt.
Hola Edgar, ¿cómo está usted? ¿Todo bien?
É, mais ou menos. Você sabe, coisas que passam durante a manhã. Oh, sorry, that's Portuguese. Um, so, Matt, was this kind of a surprise to you guys? Because when we talked to Austin regarding Fagundes, and they were pretty shocked about that one.
No, I was not surprised that Michael Barrios was dealt. I think he was on the list of a number of players that the Rapids and the fan base was looking at and considering could be departing, and more so than for what the Rapids were getting in return, just simply moving off of a player who they were unlikely to retain for the 2024 season, and then mostly freeing up cap space or a roster spot for somebody else. Things got a little bit tight there with some of the players that they wanted to bring in, moving out players who aren't international roster spots and everything. And look, at the end of the day, things weren't really working out. They parted ways with two older players, Brian Acosta, the other one going to Portland Timbers, and I'm the feeling that I have is memories obviously from 2021 for Barrios, Ed, but the other big thing, at least for me, is like the relief. Michael Barrios is a good player. He's fun in MLS, and he gets to go to a team that I think actually has a chance to do something the rest of this year, rather than stuck in the malaise of terribleness that is the 2023 Rapids.
So, what should LA Galaxy fans expect from Barrios?
Well, as I tweeted out earlier, Ed, when I did a feature on him in 2021 when he was fantastic, this is a player who has proven to be very, very good in transition, particularly when it comes to chance creation, not necessarily anymore for him creating goals for himself. And he's been very, very good off the bench. I don't have the stat in front of me, but I think it was like in the last 2 to 3 years or since coming to the Rapids, Barrios has more goals in the second half than any other player in MLS. Lionel Messi is probably going to break that by the end of the year. However, though, at the rate that he's going, Barrios has slowed down. He's not as dynamic. He's no longer a 90-minute player. I would not expect him to regularly play more than 30, 35 minutes in any game for the rest of the season for the LA Galaxy. And, he's slowed down. His first touch hasn't necessarily been there. That finishing hasn't really been there. There's a lot of Rapids players we could say about that. How much of that is just culturally in the environment that's going on around the club, and a change of scenery could be really, really nice for Mikey Barrios.
So, with Galaxy already having wingers and Boyd and Costa, this is more of a depth piece, you think?
Yes, I would say so. I've actually really liked what Terrence Boyd has done actually this season, but I think is we're still not sure. I still feel doubtful about the consistency and the quality from Douglas Costa, and then certainly from him from a fitness standpoint. So yeah, this is Emma Boateng, but he actually shoots on goal and coming off the bench in 30 minutes maybe is a good
Ooh.
Galaxy comparison.
Yeah, we like
Similarly,
Boateng.
also real short king energy from both of them.
Nice. So, shifting things to your point of view, how does this trade benefit the Rapids? I know you mentioned that the team has been moving some names around, but over the long run, how does this benefit Colorado?
They're cleaning house. I think the last couple of days of the transfer window, particularly with some of with Rafael Navajo coming in, who's their big final DP striker, which Rapids fans have been clamoring for basically since we saw that Kevin Doyle wasn't going to be him. And the Rapids finally have him. And at this point, like they're starting their rebuild. So anybody who they could get out who they didn't feel had a long-term future at the club, Brian Acosta, Michael Barrios, Anthony Markanich, who's a young second year player who went off to St. Louis City. This is the start of the rebuild. I would imagine there are going to be more players out of contract who the Rapids are going to confirm that first day of the offseason that they're not negotiating with to retain, and options that are being declined that they're not working with as well. And so at this point, I think the alternative was you let Barrios go at the end of the season, And if there was an opportunity to get anything back, I think Porrick Smith and the front office are candidly rooting against the LA Galaxy so they finish as close to the bottom of MLS as possible. So then maybe they have, the number one overall pick in if they win the wooden spoon, and then maybe another top five, top three pick if the Galaxy don't turn things around. And so you get that. Maybe you get a little bit of GAM, but most significantly, you free up a roster spot. You move a player along who you already maybe were in communication with saying that you weren't going to retain them whatsoever, and you free up that cap space to do something else. So, if getting rid of Michael Barrios and Brian Acosta made it easier from a roster compliance standpoint for the Rapids to get Navajo in now, to get Sydney Tavares, the English midfielder who they just brought in on loan from FC Porto, so that they can start that rebuild now, or at least have some of that going. That's a net positive for them. I imagine there will be more significant turnover in the upcoming offseason.
So, what's been the reaction from Colorado fans?
Michael Barrios was loved. He was one of the most, when you were at the stadium at the Richard in Commerce City, and they were going through the lineups, whether Barrios was on the bench, whether he was starting, every single time his name came up and everything, he got an audible, cheer from the crowd. It was him. And I think the only other players you would say were maybe more beloved than him would be guys like Jack Price, guys like Diego Rubio, and the homegrowns. Sam Vines is, excuse, not Sam Vines, Cole Bassett still gets a huge cheer when he gets subbed onto the game, when he subs out of the game, when he's announced as a starter, when he walks onto the field for pregame and everything. And it became a regular occurrence really in the last 2 years, with Barrios being a substitute, where he'd be warming up from my vantage point, it would be the near side right corner. This would be I guess the southwest corner of the stadium, and then Barrios would start jogging over and taking his penny off to go to the bench and everything, and that entire side of the stadium and everything would start cheering. Everybody would look over and be like, what's going on? It's, oh my god, Mikey's coming in. So fans absolutely loved him. They loved the energy that he brought. He was a very exciting player. He was a player who created chances, who created goals, something that's been lacking from the Colorado Rapids this season. And he worked really hard, and he was a good player. And he did that despite a bit of a language barrier, and he brought the vibes that the Colorado Rapids had for a couple of years there with Los Locos de los Rapids, with him, with Brian Galvan, with Diego Rubio, and everything. I have to imagine that Barrios is going to come in and immediately be a Danny Rojas football is life vibes guy, especially with the other Spanish speakers on this team. From a Galaxy perspective, on the long list of reasons you're heartbroken, one would be heartbroken for Chicharito being injured as well. This is another player who could be a Chicha whisperer and whispering in Espanol rather than in English. We're not going to see that. Does he change something in terms of wide chance creation? I think so. If the opponent has a really, really slow, really, really tired left back in the final 15 minutes, Barrios could absolutely come in, cook him, and get 3 or 4 goals in the final 11 games of the season.
You mentioned that he's a fan favorite, and it kind of echoes what happened yesterday with Austin and Diego Fagundes. So LA Galaxy in just 2 days have been able to upgrade their club by bringing in two people that are very personable, that are fan favorites, that you would think would be a really positive influence within the dressing room. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that happens. Obviously, because of League's Cup, both our clubs, having 3 week sabbaticals to heal, to prepare, to do some yoga, to try and find out where Destro and Cobra Commander are hiding. That weather dominator. But
Send the weather to RSL. No more lightning delays. I don't even Ed. I don't even want to. I don't even want a snow classico on like October 21st, which is actually like a possibility for us on decision day. No, I want sunny, like not hotter than 85, not below 55 for the rest of the season. I'm so done with this season, Ed. I'm sorry. Was there a question in there?
Yeah, I was just, I know this is off topic, but I was just like laughing at how every time you go to stadium now, there's like some kind of weird weather delay. And, at least you're not getting like dog-sized hail like they did in Italy, because then things would be really bad.
Yeah.
But Matt, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We look forward to hearing back from you again sooner than later. And hopefully things work out better for Colorado. I know you posted earlier today that, well, uh, KSC isn't really doing much to make things better for this club, and
Hmm.
you would wish that they would sell the club, and it's just, it is like it isn't happening, right?
Yeah. no. It's absolutely unfortunate, but I still love soccer. I still being around here. And even with if nothing else, Ed, the Rapids community is going to be looking at, what's Toronto doing in the table, what's LA Galaxy doing. I can't remember if Portland Timbers are in that as well. I think we're done with assuming that Miami's going to fumble the bag and that the Rapids are another team is going to have to, the Rapids are going to have to overcome another team. But I still love this community. I still love this support and everything. And even if this season ends up going completely pear shaped and the team ends up winning the wooden spoon, we still get to see Rafael Navajo. We still get to see Tavares. Some of the new players come in. I still think Robin Fraser is a good head coach. So if nothing else, I think most of the fan base has been feeling for months now the season was going to be over, and they were putting all of their emotional eggs into the Leagues Cup basket. Obviously, that did not go very well against Toluca on Monday. And so now we're focused on next season. But for the rest of the season, it's relative to the rebuild of next year. And we've seen this in the past. Sam Vines came in midseason, started regularly on a bad team, and he was a hope and a joy even when the team was playing bad at DSG. We saw it with the Kellen Acosta trade and the acquisition of Cole Bassett right now. And now we have two players, 23 and younger, one who's going to be a TB DP, one who's going to be a U22 initiative player. And if nothing else, I'm excited to watch them and see how they get on in MLS, and maybe that sets them up to be better in 2024. As Cubs fans would say, there's always next year. But Edgar, muchas gracias, buenas tardes, y vamos Galaxy.
Thank you so much, Matt. And we'll catch you again some other time. In the meantime, Galaxy fans, keep on nagging. And Matt, any goodbye real quick?
Oh, yeah. Goodbye.
Keep holding that highlight.
That's the plan.